on reading to learn. And what that means is that's what happens when a student opens a book and begins to read. At that point, reading to learn is taking place. So, this chapter and lecture will go into an overview of some of the research on comprehension, some recommendations made by the National Reading Panel. We'll touch on close reading and then talk about comprehension as a whole. Let's begin with constructing meaning with text. Learning from text involves a complex interaction between the reader and the text. A cognitive view of this says that readers use their prior knowledge to build a representation of what an author is trying to communicate. Now, constructing meaning from text also varies in the different content areas for different reasons, but mainly because of the actual inherent nature of the different subjects and because of the differing pedagogical beliefs of teachers. So, teaching strategies for comprehension will always need to be adapted to individual circumstances in each content area. But one thing to keep in mind is the content of instruction needs to determine the process of instruction. That's a very important idea to keep in mind. Now consider, when thinking about different types of text, think about the passage of a history textbook. Does it have a fixed meaning, or is the meaning subject to interpretation based on social factors or the experience the reader brings to the text? What about a chemistry text or a mathematics text? How does the meaning of those different texts seem to change? So keep this in mind when understanding how our students construct meaning from text from different content areas. Reading comprehension is influenced by several different factors, but one particular factor that you want to be familiar with is, of course, instruction. Comprehension instruction can be student-centered with a goal of teaching students to master very specific comprehension strategies. Or it can be content-centered, and that would be with the goal of helping students to master particular concepts in their subject area. Now, whether the emphasis is on strategy mastery or content mastery, effective instruction requires a knowledgeable teacher, an effective teacher, who understands something about comprehension processes and strategies. So the National Reading Panel has found 7 categories of comprehension instruction that relate back to the research and showing us that students do well when these different categories of instruction are implemented in the classroom. So take a moment and look through those 7 and think about how those are different types of pieces of instruction that you can incorporate into your content area and lessons. To help students with comprehension, teachers can also present strategies explicitly, and they can do this through direct instruction. And this is described more in detail in the chapter, but the direct instruction model is a 4-step process, and that 4-step process is listed on the screen for you. So take a moment and review those 4 steps. Providing intensive direct instruction until your students have mastered a comprehension strategy is probably not feasible for most content teachers. They're under the pressure to meet curriculum standards within their content area and can't take that break to specifically teach comprehension strategy. So as a result, a teacher may use a more content-oriented approach where techniques like pre-reading activities, vocabulary building, graphic organizers, questioning strategies, and also reading guides would be an example, of strategies that could be used as a combination to engage students in reading, talking, and thinking about that particular subject. So it doesn't have to just be teaching about comprehension, but you can use strategies that relate to comprehension that build your content area. Fluent reading is also a part of comprehension. So if a student is struggling with fluency, or if this is a tremendous labor for the student to get through that, then that's something that needs to alert you as the teacher that that's something that needs to be worked on, or advocate to get that student some extra help in that area before you can go on and do more with comprehension. So let's talk about questions and questioning. In order for questions to be an effective classroom tool, teachers need to be really mindful about the ways in which they use questions. Most especially, questioning activities should be thoughtfully planned so that the students are presented with a variety of question types. And one useful way to conceptualize questions, which has really solid research support behind it, is the question-answer relationships, or QARs. Now, briefly, QARs imply that readers may draw on different resources for answering questions about their reading. And there are 4 main types of QAR. Those are listed there for you on the screen. So under right there, that means the answer comes directly from the text. A reader can point to the literal words that answer the question in the text. On putting it together, the answer is implied in the text but not directly stated. The reader has to use inferences to make a connection between some of the things an author says and then also their own knowledge. In the author and you strategy, the reader combines her or his background knowledge with text information and then comes up with an interpretation. And on your own means that the answer comes almost exclusively from the background knowledge of the reader. And reading the text at this for this strategy may not be necessary since the information comes exclusively from the reader. And knowledge of these QARs can help teachers plan really effective questions to use both before and after the reading. So think about those different strategies and how you can implement those in your lesson plan. If teachers explain the 4 QARs to students, they can then construct reading guides made up of questions labeled according to their QAR. And this helps students know what type of answer that they need to be constructing on their own. Other useful questioning strategies can include the questioning the author, a QTA, a reciprocal questioning, self-questioning. In QTA, teachers acknowledge that authors make decisions about what to include and how to present information. Decisions can be questioned then by the readers. Teachers can guide their students to formulate questions like, what is the author trying to say? Or does the author explain this clearly? So think for a few minutes about how these different types of questioning would relate back to your particular content area and how it would work for your students. Now we're moving on to text structure and complexity. A chapter in a history book or a science textbook, a poem, a short story, or an explanation of a sample math problem are not just random collections of words, facts, and ideas. Within each type of text are structures that tie ideas together. So texts have both content and structure. Think about that for a moment. Texts have both content and structure. Both features are used interactively during reading so that students can comprehend the ideas that are in the text. So we have both content and structure in a text, and then both are used interactively in order to move to comprehension. Now, authors use various strategies or organizational patterns to present information in content area text, and knowledge of those patterns can help readers with comprehension. Three particular kinds of text structures, in particular, may cause difficulties for readers who do not perceive them or understand how the author is using to convey their ideas. When this happens, we need to provide scaffolding. So think about how scaffolding can work. We do have sequence or time order, comparison and contrast, cause and effect. These are all different kinds of text structures. And students can benefit from direct instruction in the use of this text structure. Teachers can read aloud from short passages, graphic representations can be used, but all in all, think about how you can scaffold with various aspects in order to help students with this. Now, comprehending online text is an important skill for our students. The skills and strategies used to comprehend traditional print text are also used in comprehending online text. But there are some other complexities that are associated with online comprehension. So skilled online readers, they typically call on their prior knowledge of website structure and also how search engines work. And they begin to make a lot of predictions based on this prior knowledge. For instance, when a student encounters one or more hyperlinks on a screen, they also extend traditional print inferences with an understanding that information they need might be concealed within several layers of a website. They may have to click several times to get to things, something like that. Online readers' cognitive reading strategies are augmented by physical reading actions. So this means typing, scrolling, clicking, dragging. Those two things are connected. We don't have that type of a connection in traditional print text reading. And online reading calls on a very rapid process of reading and evaluating. And readers are very quickly predicting, planning, monitoring, evaluating what they want to click on and move between, come back to, things like that. So as readers navigate a really enormous number of choices and possible distractions, then they begin to construct their own path between the text and understanding. We typically don't have all of those distractions available or all those choices available in typical print text. Now, not every student in middle or high school is going to have sufficient internet experience or even any kind of expertise. Just because they can get on and scroll around or look at it does not mean they have experience or even expertise. So it's reasonable to expect that at least some of our students, and the reality is probably most of our students, will need some very explicit instruction in order to know how to really self-direct themselves on an internet inquiry. Just because our students can go on and move between internet sites does not mean that they can actually navigate in a successful way to comprehend the text. So keep that in mind when you assign projects or lessons that deal with online searches or online reading, that you will need to give some instruction at times about the best way to do this in order to be efficient and as well as be successful.